so it's a little more of a reasonable hour in the morning. I've managed to get myself sorted for the day. I want to share with you when I went on the Antiques Roadshow, and this is series 40, episode 7. Unfortunately, it's not available on the iPlayer anymore, but occasionally it gets repeated, so I've managed to record it when it was repeated. And it's with the fabulous Will Farmer, who is a wonderful auctioneer and expert, and had a very good friend called Sally Hoburn, who was a massive Florence Cam fan. And because of this interaction on the Antiques Roadshow, I was so lucky that a gentleman reached out to me via the BBC, whose dad also worked at CAMS, and we met up and compared some of the stuff we had. I also met Sally Hoburn. She came over, looked at everything, and she used one of my sketches that we had of my great grandmother in a book that she wrote, the Black Country art and such like. I will find it to show to you in a moment, but I am wearing a necklace that my great grandmother made when she was a mature student, because she went on to do silversmithing, and very much like Florence Cam. And I'm wearing the necklace. I also wore it on my wedding day, as did my mum, and it's got opals in. And unfortunately, she never managed to get it assayed, because hallmarked, because on the day it was meant to be, all the work was meant to be sent off to be done, my granddad was very ill, and so she had to stay home and look after him. But she finished her work in her kitchen with a home Bunsen burner that she would connect to the main gas line in her kitchen, and she would sit there with the little rubber tube blowing into this Bunsen burner to melt silver to make this filigree necklace. I'm also wearing a brooch, and if you see the picture of my great grandmother as a young woman, she always had her hair in a big bun. She's wearing the same brooch which I have, and she made jewellery for her sisters. Unfortunately, we don't know where any of that's gone, or where the sisters are. I am currently going through the family tree, so anyway, I will be back after this.
This is a remarkable and, for me, really exciting collection of work. Drawings, cartoons, original stained glass, linked of course to the company T.W. Cam of Smelling, one of the last great stained glass makers of the region, and the great Florence Cam, who in herself was a pioneering woman at the beginning of the 20th century. So where's your connection?
Well, the lady in the photograph there is my great-grandmother, and my great-grandfather also worked with the company for many years, and found
So this is the book. It's The Black Country, a history in 100 objects. We bought this copy at the Black Country Living Museum when we revisited it with my granddad, and when I had a feeling this was the book. I saw it in the gift shop room, in the gift shop, and I flicked through it and I found the page with the sketch. I'm trying not to bend the spine. So this is a copy of the pencil sketch, and it says Eve by Florence Cam, May 6th, 1919. So my great grandmother would have been 19 when that was drawn, and I screamed. And they're in a very small gift shop in the Black Country Living Museum. So and then we bought 4 copies. So I've got one, my mum's got one, my granddad's got one, I think my uncle's got one. And this is what Sally Hoban wrote. This portrait of Eve Loach was drawn by Florence Cam in 1919. Eve was an employee of the Cam studio in Smethwick, and this may have been a preparatory sketch for Stained Glass Commission. Florence and her brothers Walter, Robert often used local people and workers in the studio for models. I have to excuse my clock. Florence Cam was born in Smethwick in 1874, and she went on to do all sorts of amazing things, working for the Birmingham Municipal School of Art, which I actually went to. It's on Margaret Street. It's the Birmingham School of Art now, and it was part of UCE, and I did a term there when I was a student for UCE. We had to pick a subject that was completely unrelated to what our degree was in, and I was doing a degree in graphic design, and I went and did this semester doing fine art, and I did sculpture, and I did this sculpture piece with clay about cats. Anyway, so she continues to write directly about my great grandmother, Florence Evelyn Loach. She was known as Eve in the studio because obviously her first name was Florence, and obviously that caused confusion. Was born in 1900 and was known as Eve. Was employed as stained glass painter by the Cam studio by 1916. However, she may have been working there before this time, as stained glass design exhibited at the Royal Academy in 1910 is documented as the work of Miss Eve Loach, a pupil of the Cams. Can you imagine your 10-year-old? I mean, I know there are some amazing children out there, but that's crazy. And so she goes on to write about her studying at the Municipal School of Art, and in 1924 she married Albert Fell, who was the studio operating the kilns, and then she gave up her job in 23 because she had children, and then came back in 1946 until 1960. The studio actually closed in 1967, and the building was demolished in the 1980s, which is a great shame because it was a really cool building. But yeah, we have been sort of on and off looking for stuff to do, and I found that suitcase in my granddad's loft. He'd never opened it. I then opened it and was just thrown into this whole thing again, and we were trying to find windows that we knew had been made, and we were trying to figure out where they were. And the first main one that we figured out was the one that one of her last pieces that she did, and it was the memorial window for the Warwickshire Regiment at Warwick, at St Mary's Church in Warwick, and that was one of the last windows she ever worked on, and she attended the ceremony for it. Apparently they had a ceremony at Salisbury. Apparently there was a big commemoration ceremony for the window, and she went to that. My granddad remembers that. He didn't ask, unfortunately, a lot of questions when she was alive about the whole stained glass thing, so getting information from him has been very difficult because he was a young man and he didn't really care about it at the time. So we then found out that there was an exhibition of art of Cam's drawings, glass, the cartoons, massive bits in Ely, because there's a stained glass museum in Ely. I contacted them to ask them, can we see this stuff? And they said, unfortunately, it's now gone to auction in Norfolk. Now, apparently, all this stuff, when the studio was closed, was put in boxes and for some reason sent to Lincoln or Lincolnshire. I don't know exactly where it was found, but a lot of it was found in a barn in Lincolnshire. Because the glass would have been sold. The glass was valuable, being old glass, but all the drawings and stuff like that would have been deemed as pointless, useless at the time, so it was just shipped off. Now, my granddad, Eve and Albert's son, moved to Lincoln in the 70s and has lived there until today. He's 96. So the fact that they were found, these items were found in Lincoln was also quite cool. Then the auction was in Norfolk, and the auction was at an auction house 10 minutes maximum from where my parents live. So there was something was going on here. Anyway, we went to the auction. We were only looking at stuff that was family related, and we found obviously what we did. We got what we did. We didn't get the cartoon of the fallen soldier, but later on my husband managed to purchase it, as I explained earlier. But there were some amazing pieces, and I know a lot of it went to America because we could obviously tell where it was going to. I would love to find out where some of those cartoons went, because they were beautiful, and I, even though had no connection to them via the family, that I would have loved to have owned them and just had them on a wall in a frame, because they're stunning. Anyway, so that basically gives you an idea of, and I had a list that was given to me years ago which told me which windows had Eve's name on them. They're either painted on or etched, which we saw that for the first time the other weekend, of churches mostly in the West Midlands, with windows where she's attributed as an assistant, but we know that she would have worked on many, and there's one we don't know where it is. It's the one we have the cartoon for. It's she's got the crown on her head and the shawl, and then they made a larger piece, and we're trying to find out. We thought we found it in Spain, and then I completely lost whatever information I had written it down on or in, and then came back to look for it, and I can't find where this window is. So yeah, trying to desperately find that now is my next thing, and that's what I was doing when I came across this piece of glass. This is turning into a very long video, and I really hope that whoever watches this takes the time to do so. So thank you very much for doing that for me. If anyone would like anything else, then feel free to ask, and I will tell you whatever I can.